Hey everyone, Papercut here with a replay review coaching video. So Seth Moose is someone who wants coaching but is busy, so they just asked me to look at a bunch of their replays and give kind of a basic, what could they do better sort of thing. So I looked at a bunch of their replays and wore it down to some specific things we're going to look at. And so from this point on, I'm going to talk directly to him, but if you're interested, especially if you're like in the gold area and want to see replays that are similar to you and advice I often give, I hope this video is helpful. So I'm just gonna call you Seth, so I'm gonna say Seth Moose every time. There's three big things I saw from your videos that are holding you back, I feel like. One is your early game plan. It feels like you are often not making units or making eco decisions, but the reason behind it. You're over gathering lots of resources, you're making units and not using them. You're gonna see some visual examples here, but the overall point is we're not striving towards something. We're not trying to get, for example, like a use of making units is to go deny resources. A use of making units is to make sure you can do your pro scouts. A use of making units is to fake pressure, but then you go castle, but your opponent over makes units. Like, what are we doing with them? You can even make units because your opponent is making a certain unit, you want to counter it while you're focusing on eco. But you seem to be just doing things without a real purpose behind them. Two, our resource split in use. We often have interesting splits of our villagers, but it leads to huge overflow of resources. Like maybe you'll have 1,000 wood at some point or way too much gold. So that means we don't have clarity on what are we trying to make or do or get to and what resources does that require. And it also means we're not looking at our resources and going, wow, I have like 1,000 extra wood, I should pull half my vills off wood, put them on something else. And lastly, it feels like when you hit castle, your plan really falls apart. You get the relics and then so we also want to look at a few and talk about what should your goal in castle be once you get there. So let's hop in. I'm gonna use three specific replays as our focus. So first we have this loss against OTD on Gorge. I think this is a classic example of the clarity of plan issue. Your opponent had a very clear goal. They wanted to get to castle, go Burgrave, make lots of men at arms, and just attack you. Game over. You seem like you didn't quite really know what you wanted to do. Like what were you trying to accomplish to be successful? So against OTD as HRE, you have a few things you can do. One, you could just make lots of units and attack, and OTD is a very food heavy civ, so you cut off food. That makes their life a lot harder, and then you can go castle or try to win it with ram push. You could fast castle yourself. Your castle is much faster. It's better than OTDs because if they're trying to go castle, you can immediately get relics really quickly. Now you do have to watch out for that big castle timing push. They do Burgrave, but you can have the relics, which helps you eco a lot. As I said, you can castle faster than them, and you can pre-send out prelates, which they can't, so you can get the relics immediately. You could even do some sort of what you're gonna, I think, try to do here is a pro scout play. Help you get a lot of extra eco. But you need to turn that into units or turn that into a really efficient castle that then allows you to use all that extra food to get more units and win on the battlefield. And then as always, my biggest suggestion against OTD is make sure you are making counters. So first in the scouting pattern, we really want to know what's in this corner. As it turns out, there's deer in this corner that you missed. Two, the Aachen placement. I do not like this. Generally, if you have a back wood line, you should always nestle the Aachen against the wood line because now you're wasting 50 wood for what? And it makes your wood gathering very, very good, which helps kind of speed up everything else. I do like how you pull the sheep under it though, which is nice. So we start the age up. We have a very normal eco split here, 2 on gold, 4 on the age up, 4 on food. What I see you do a lot in these early games is you put so many fills on wood, and it's quite confusing. The goal behind that. Like I get you want to get production or things like that. Then we're often in like just sitting on wood for a very long time. Age up hits, we all go to wood, and now we have 10 on wood, 3 on gold, about to be 4, and 7 on wood. This way we're doing a very normal pro scout play. You definitely need to pull a group of vills and put on the mill. 7 on gold is a lot, and honestly you should just get 3 on gold during the entire age up, and that would have got you closer to pro scouts. But yes, let's continue. I'm gonna drop the mill. Here's what I mean. You have... Oh, actually, no, this is a good eco split at this point. You're gonna drop a stable, you're gonna get pro scouts, you're gonna be good to go. Now, on pro scouts, the biggest thing I always suggest, and which is the biggest mistake I see often in early pro scouts, is get your closest deer pack first. So your closest deer pack is here. You should pro scout this deer pack first. Why? A lot of times people will go, oh, I want to pro scout my enemy's deer pack. I want to go take their deer. Ha 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 ha. It takes so long for that deer to get back, and during that time you run out of sheep. So you want the first deer pack to give yourself a huge food boost, and with that huge food boost, you could then go pro scout other deer packs. A big decision point in pro scouting is, do I need to make units or not? If you can be very greedy with your pro scouts, you can then make like 5 or 6 scouts, start vacuuming deer, and then just rush castle. If your opponent is going to make units, then you need to respond by making the counter units. So you should scout, and if you see he's dropping a barracks against OTD, I'd be scared of, well, he's going to make men-at-arms. In that case, you'd want to make either your own men-at-arms, because you don't really have a men-at-arm counter in feudal, or try to make a bazillion archers. At the same time, he's also on deer, so that might be something that makes you go, ooh, I need to make 1 or 2 horsemen just to push him off deer, because food's so important to them. We didn't scout that. We haven't scouted his base at all. We haven't scouted the barracks. We haven't scouted what food he's on. So just a general big point is always make sure you are scouting your opponent's opening. We didn't do that, thus we don't know what our opponent's actually doing. You saw what he aged up with, but does he have 5 on gold right now? So he's trying to fast castle. Is he completely on deer? And you could push him away from that, things like that. So you want to check these things. So then the question is, why are we 8 on wood? So you got the wood you needed for the stable, you got the wood you needed to get the pro scouts. Your 8 on wood suggests that you want to like continuously add farms and make production and make units. Are you trying to do that at this point? Like, is your goal pro scouts into attacking someone? Or is it pro scouts into castle and then like mass knights, which is a much more common pro scout move because that food allows you to just make a bunch of knights. Excuse me. Also, I'm not huge with the 2 stable play. You already have a stable. The worst thing that could happen here is you do 2 stables, and all of a sudden he shows up with a bunch of spears, and you have nothing to counter him with. So you should always use the second building to be the counter. So you want to scout this, and if he's going barracks, well then you make barracks, so you make an archery range. But double stable really locks you into just making cav units. You don't need more scouts. You have that coming from the stable. If you want to go horseman, just stop scout production, make a horseman. But don't do double stable. So once again, what are we trying? There's always a lot of these maps have 2 deer packs. You just miss the corner, which is rough. But you're gonna go pro scout this corner first, and you look, your villagers are burning through sheep right now. You're now dropping a tower. You're making horsemen. Then you see he's on the deer pack, so you take 1 of his deer, which is actually pretty funny. But we just have a lot of resources. We now have 500 wood for what? I could understand getting a lot of food and gold because getting a castle is very good against OTD. Because if he makes men-at-arms, you can make crossbows. If he makes knights, you can make spear and crossbow. Because you look, he's already aging up. And since you let him be on the deer for so long, he's really good on resources. Look at his eco split. He has only 4 vills on wood. Why? Well, he doesn't need a lot of production. He needs food and gold so he can mass a crazy amount of men-at-arms. So he's not overgathering wood. You, on the other hand, have 8 on wood, which means you're way over gathering wood because you don't really have a plan of what to do once the pro scout starts. I think the biggest split of the plan should be, do I pro scout into units or pro scout into castle? And while I'm pro scouting, what do I need to do to survive to make sure my scouts get that food? And then you then immediately make, and then you always get the closest to your pack first. You then suffer from just getting men-at-arm dove 1,000 times. And he just has like way more tempo than you. I think you could have hypothetically won this in castle. But you need to basically do knights crossbows and force them to make spears, and then you do your own men-at-arms with the full men-at-arms upgrades. If you do men-at-arms full anti-men-at-arm upgrades, then your men-at-arms are better than his, but you gotta get the full upgrades for them. So then you burger yourself, which I kind of understand why. You're like, well, I'm afraid of dying. But then you have to use the burger. you're gonna build the Burgrave and then never make units out of the Burgrave, which is crazy. All you need to do is mass a lot of men at arms with crossbows, or men at arms and knights. Right now you're doing things like wasting resources on horsemen that won't even do anything. Why are we making horsemen? The agent just goes crossbows. He's made 8 horsemen. Once again, the question is, what's he making? What can I do in response? Horsemen ain't gonna do anything for you. Now, if these horsemen are just planted by his base, that's would be good. Because then you can deny gold, you can deny food, you'd force him to make units to then chase the horsemen around. That's actually a pretty big deal. Second, you pull the horsemen back here. 1, they can't even fight these men at arms. 2, that allows them to be back on the resources again. So, that's just a tip. In these fast castle plays where food is at a premium for him, using horsemen to deny food continuously is very, very good. It buys you a lot of time. Already, we're seeing the issue of doing the far away deer pack first, because your vills are barely have food to live. And then we also see our clarity of our resources. If we wanted to go castle, why did we gather 600 wood? Imagine if we had been heavier on gold. 1, you would have got the castle faster. 2, you would have had extra gold. What that would allow you to do is then pump men at arms like crazy, which would have been very good. Or even pump, like, if you had a lot of gold, a lot of lance, which would have tore through his pure melee comp. So, overall, the point I'm trying to get at is, since you didn't have the clarity of what you wanted to do, your eco splits really ruined your ability to be successful once you got to castle, and his much more focused eco allowed him to shut down your eco continuously. Next game is against KT on Gorgigan. This is another example of, 1, our opponent having a much more clear idea of what they want to do, the lack of scouting that is hurting you, and then how our bill splits are then not supporting the eco we need to do the correct thing in the situation. On top of that, we can also say that reading the situation incorrectly, this might be because you've never seen the unit before, but anyway. First of all, it's really, really important that when you do this deep of a scouting dive, you have to come back and drop off your sheep, because you will run out when you age up. You don't, so then you circle back towards his base. You don't bring sheep back to your villas, so they have to run into deer, which delays your initial food. It's great to get on deer, but to basically do it as a last resort and not something that's prepared really hurts you. 2, you start the age with 1, so I don't really understand why. I think because it's KT, you want to make units to deny the sacred sites, which is totally fine. Though you also could fast castle out of this. But it's really important you check KT's opening, because if they're making the knights, you're going to want to do like heavy spear horsemen. If they're doing either of their men at arms feudal options, you want to do mass range. So like the opening in the units you make heavily dependent on what KT's opening is. So you move back to 4 age up, we're 552, and now you're about to run out of sheep, and you're realizing this, so you go out your deer early. And now we have a lot of gold, a lot of wood, which is fine. We want to make sure we're opening the correct production building. So you see an opening of barracks. So even if you don't know the flags, this means he's probably opening one of his 2 men at arms units. So you need mass range. Both are weak to range. What you don't want to make is a stable, because in any case, your horsemen are not going to do well against any of their men at arms options. And even if they didn't do men at arms, your horsemen wouldn't do well against spears. So now, if he was the French one, of course, you'd want to open stable barracks. You decide to open stable archery range, which I understand why you want the ability to like move your horsemen between sacred sites, but it's more important to get the units you need to counter. It's actually the comp you want to go is actually archer spear, because if he does sergeant or healers, he's gonna want to do horsemen as the secondary. The healers can heal the horsemen, the horsemen kill the archers, which are the counter to the sergeant. So in either way, you need archer spear. And your units are so fast and the sacred sites so close together, you can still deny sacred sites just by taking an aggressive forward position with your units. But instead we drop a stable and make a unit that isn't really going to help us. And then our macro is really weird. We have 12 on wood. We have our Akken on the wood line, and you're building a lumber camp. So that's a waste of 50 wood. And this is just way too many villas on wood. I would have taken like 6 of these villas and put them on food. And then rallied wood over time, because if you notice, you actually have plenty of wood. You drop now even a 3rd production building. You don't have the food to make units. So you want heavy on wood early as you're aging up to get production. Once the production is down, you want to flip more to food. If you're doing a style where it's like, I'm getting a lot of wood, then I'll add farms, it's fine. But I would be careful about adding farms too early, even as HRE, because you want to put as much food into units early, take that unit advantage, and then eco boom through farms around it. So in this case, you feel unsafe, so you have to jump a tower, so it's another 100 wood down the drain. Now look how much wood you're floating at this point. Your Akin's boost ability is so strong. And so to not shift vills onto wood or start dropping farms, now you're dropping farms, but like you still have so much wood, that you could pretty much heavily pull off wood and then re-rally. So whenever I have this much extra wood, I just pull most of my vills off wood, put them on the resource I need, and then rally my TC to wood. By the time you spend through the wood, you'll then have vills on wood again. Here comes the sergeant. If you don't know what a unit does, see what its designation is, but then look at its armor. No ranged armor means, yeah, you definitely want to make archers, and lots of them. I don't see you scouting him, though. Like, you haven't actually scouted to see what's the move here. What, is he on resources? What is he? Yeah, look. He's on deer. Which you can see, actually, in the fog of war. I don't know if you know this, but if you find the deer, then you check if the deer are gone. That means they're on the deer. You can see that in the fog of war. So this is actually a use for your horsemen, right? If your horsemen came here, this would be a really big issue to their food. But you're not. And now we just need to make a lot of archers. Like 2 archer ranges at this point would not be bad. But your horsemen will do nothing to these sergeants. You also have a big issue with this game making vills, which is actually an issue in a lot of your games. You just consistently stop making vills for long stretches of time, which means you're basically killing vills, which is really, really bad for your eco. If we look at the caster mode right now, he's killed a vill, you guys are tied, and KT is like, should be 2 vills behind because of their age up. So that means that you've killed a vill by not producing one, and he's killed one with his units. And hypothetically, he could have also forgot to make a vill himself. Does he have any? He does. So then, yeah, he should be 2 to 3 vills down. Look what this horseman does. Barely anything, honestly. And you had a lot of horsemen, maybe, like a lot of horsemen, but you need a lot of horsemen. So you drop the second archery range, and now we're cooking. We need to be consistently producing units. It feels like you want to fight him in feudal. To deny the sacred sites, which I get, but man, do you need a lot of archers. At this point, he's now on 2 barracks, he's adding the stable, and so when he adds the horsemen, things get really bad for you. Keep in mind, his sergeants are much more expensive than your archers, but if he's on 2 barracks and you're in 2 archery range, the sergeants will trade out okay against archers. If you guys are just standing and fighting, you should have more archers though, because archers are cheaper, but we're not consistently producing them, and we're not going, oh, I need way more archers, I should add another archery range. Instead, it feels like we've kind of given up on that, and now we're trying to go to castle. Now you're dying in the sacred sites, which is good. 2 dead. So look how many units he's building, and since you decided to go castle, you're behind on that. It's just fine, but like, look at your eco. 1,700 food, 400 wood, 500 gold. So if you want to go to castle, you should have pulled vills off of wood onto gold. 2, you can still make archers. Like, if the thing you're waiting for is gold, it's totally okay to still keep making archers and horsemen and stuff like that to defend, as long as you stay above that 1200 mark. So you had 500 food you could have spent to keep making military, as long as you're not making gold units while you're still saving for castle. It's very common for players to still make units while saving for castle. The goal is just, once their food eco is so big, they just don't build anything gold related and save the gold, and then they go castle. So then the issue we're going to hit here is that once you hit castle, it didn't really seem like you wanted to do besides get the relics, right? So 1, age up with more than 4. That's so slow. 2, never, ever, ever age up with gold units. You need gold so bad when you hit castle. You need it for upgrades, you need it for good units, you need it for prelates. So like, aging up with gold villagers is awful. Look at your food. Like, the best thing to do is look at your resource, and that's what I have a lot of. So what can I use on the age up? In this case, it's food. You have so many food vills. I've pulled like a majority of your sheep vills and built the regnets. And 1, this regnets is very far. It's like outside your TC range. I would have put it like here, or like back here if you want to use it as like a drop-off point later for farms. Like, this is a very far forward regnets, which is weird. You want to make a prelate while you're doing this as well, and pre-send it. So you should have like your Aachen prelate on this one. You should have the prelate you make out of your TC like on this one. and grab them the second you age up and pull back. But like, you're gonna enter castle with no gold, but lots and lots of food, which that doesn't really do anything for you. You know what I mean? Now you're pulling to deer, but like, you don't need food. Food's not the thing holding you back right now. You know what I mean? Now that you see his comp, you have two ways to fight this, right? Because he's already has built a lot of sergeants, and when he ages as the castle sergeants, they're going to be pretty strong. So you have two ways. One, the second you age up, just do mass crossbows, and you need spears for the horsemen, or you do mass knights. Either of those options could work. This age up is so slow. Look at your eco imbalance. At no point did he pause and go, yeah, I do have a lot of food. I don't really need that many on food. And look at this, we're housed for so long. Okay, now we're getting relics. Once you want to look at your opponent's resources, he's floating wood, but he is spending consistently. He keeps making units, which at this level is the biggest thing. He also took boar, which is so much food, but like, he's aging up right now, and he just keeps making units. He is consistently making units, and he made the counters. He saw you were archers, so he made horsemen, which will also be great against crossbows. It's now incumbent on you to counter the horsemen, which you never do. Either with knights or spearmen, you never make the counters. I don't want you to really make men-at-arms, because the sergeants can just kite the men-at-arms. To get relics, your gold items can be a lot better. Once again, our imbalance, though. You don't want to pull off gold until you have 3 relics or more. Because you have so, like, look at you needed to get the upgrades for your horsemen, 250. Upgrades for your archers, 250. It's 500 gold right there. You want to keep making prelates, which are 100 a pop. You probably want to get your eco upgrades as well. 100 250, and that's not even counting making crossbows consistently, which are 40 a pop. So you see, you need so much gold when you enter castle, so there's not a clear focus of what you want to make, i.e. the gold things you need, thus transferring to I need a lot of those on gold. You're floating so much food, and then you don't really spend resources because you get housed for a long time. You don't notice it. So my suggestion is, if you constantly get any house, build like 4 or 5 houses at a time. Don't do 1 house at a time. Just do like 4 or 5 so that doesn't happen as often. But this actually hurts you really, really badly because you're at 26 military at this point. He's at 37. He's getting all his upgrades because he actually gathered gold as he was aging up. You don't have any of your upgrades because you did not gather gold as he aged up. And then this game really comes down to just spending your resources. Keep making production, keep spending your resources. So at this point, you take a fight that you have no business taking because you have no upgrades, and you have like 4k resources in the bank. You're just now dropping more production. You're dropping it super far forward, so if you die, you can't keep making units, but your production like over here. And 2, you're making like 4 knights out of 1 stable, so it's just a lack of production. You notice your opponent continuously added more production, kept his villas on resources he needed, gold and food. And on good food, too. Boar, deer. So he has 2 of each production building, and he's just been pumping the entire time. Look at this. So you never made counters. You took a bad fight. You weren't spending your resources. You didn't have resource balance. Alright, so last we have a win against Abbasid. I wanted to show a win because I think you can see these issues even if it wins. It just means your opponent is making, similar amount of mistakes. One on maps where the deer are so close, feel free to just go out to the deer immediately. It means you'd probably want to put 1 extra vill on gold, since you want to have the prelate there to buff the gold vills. But you will get so much food because the gather on deer is so good, and then you'll boost it with the prelate. It'll be really, 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 really good. So keep that in mind. Also means you can save your sheep. So big thing here is, once again, scouting, eco splits, and the use of our units. I think this game's also a great example of making units for what? For what? What are we making these units for? Good Aachen placement. Why with the lumber camp? You can drop things like that. The Aachen, you don't need to put the lumber camp there. Just a waste of 50 wood. Also, I don't like this. Don't push the deer in with the vill. That's just a waste of villager walk time. The deer pushing is so slow now. Instead of this being a lumber camp, you should just put a mill here. Like, if you had put the mill right inside the Aachen range, right here, that would have been amazing. So you age up, and once again, we don't know what his opening is. What is he doing? Is he making units? Is he doing TCs? What is he doing? You have no freaking idea, which means your opening moves have no real purpose or reason behind them. You're going super heavy on wood again, 11 on wood, so you're getting so much wood. Now we're just going to drop an archer into the stable, which just seems to be your go-to, which is fine, but like, what if? You know, like, do you need these? Are you trying to go castle? Are you trying to win in feudal? Like, that's the thing, it's like you drop these production buildings and make units, but I don't think you really know, like, now you're not on gold anymore. Are you wanting to age up? Well, if you're so, why are you so heavy on wood? Like, that's the thing, there doesn't give you a clarity of your feudal plan. It just seems like you're making units, you're getting resources, and then you decide you want to go castle. So you make archers, you're making a lot of archers, no horsemen. Making a lot of archers, I think maybe because you're afraid of camel archers? Maybe? But why are we scared of them? We haven't looked at anything. Your scout's standing here pushing deer. We have no idea what he's doing. You now have 4 archers, which are fast, keep in mind. They're HRE archers, and look at this. He's on 2nd TC. He's protected nothing but his gold and his food. His berries are open for shooting at. He's going to be on deer, which is open for you to shoot at. So he has no units. He's done 2 TC, no units. And you had archers, which could have been harassing him this entire time, and you did not send them over. And now he's just dropping a stable. It would have been great if you had a barracks instead of a stable, so that your spears can protect your archers, and your archers can keep harassing his exposed resources. Because he's almost out of sheep, so he needs this deer, he needs this berries. Both things you could have easily denied with your archers, because you could have walked in right here and just circled his base. And so while his base is very compacted, once he runs out of these resources, he has to leave, and then things will get really hard for him. But you didn't scout, you didn't check, you didn't send your units, and so now these are just complete waste. What are they doing? What's their purpose? And you could have ruined so much just by being there, just by going over there and being there. But the biggest issue is that you never scout your opponent. You never know what they're doing. Now we're deciding to go castle, and this is the first time I've seen a legitimate villager split to go castle. You pulled off the wood, you went heavy on gold and food, and you're actually hitting a pretty solid castle timing after going, you know, 7 archers for some reason. Yep, come over, age up. You age up with gold vills again. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. You have no gold. And basically, for a large portion of this game, your opponent's got much better eco than you. If he just made units after he aged up and he just pushed, he would have put you in a really bad spot. So you're lucky your opponent was extremely passive. He let you basically get all the relics, no problemo. Once you get, if you get 3 or more relics, you do have a choice just to go imp. Like, make some units, make some knights, harass 5 knights, and go imp. But, once again, your opponent made your counter, and you didn't know he was making this, so you didn't have any counter units. You're once again floating an insane amount of food, no gold, so you can't really make any castle units, you can't make prelates, you can't make anything because you put all your bills on food. Like, you need a good resource balance, you need a purpose of your resources. What are you trying to get from your resources? What are you trying to make? And just in general, at this level, just making units consistently will win you the game, but you have to make the units. But right now, you're the benefit of the fact that your opponent also made units, but isn't... His eco is also not that coherent either, though he is aging up. He's going to have no food when he age up. He way overgathered gold, so your opponent's eco is also pretty incoherent. But there's going to be plenty of times throughout this game where he could have basically just pushed you and you would have died. He just plays extremely, extremely passively. What you do well in this game, which I like, is that you make a bunch of knights, and then you do these side-by-side raids a lot, which do buy you a lot of space. You build up an infantry mass at home, and you do these side raids with your knights, which are very distracting, and do pull his units. You go out on resources on the map, which is really good, because you do have map control. You're getting the relics in, which is really nice. I don't need to line up all your houses back here. It's just kind of a waste of time for your villas. Just put them near where your villas are. Raiding with your knights. Do you have any military upgrades? No, you don't. And honestly, throwing away those knights is not worth like the 1 or 2 villas you killed. So please do not throw away knights like that. Dive. Try to get a vill, leave. You got 3 villas. He's dousing you by 18 villas at this point. Which is what I mean. Look at his eco right now. His eco is just insanely good. And if he turned that into units, like, look how much he's floating right now. If he was just making units consistently, he beats you. because if you're going to go into 2TC as HRE, you need to get the relics and go imp as soon as possible so you can be pumping Swabia bills. If you're not, then you need to get the relics, basically get 2TC instantly, and then, or like get relics and just make a lot of units to try to push before that pays off for him. But now you're just dropping a bunch of production buildings, you're going to kind of meander for a while, and eventually you'll win because he's going to take some really bad fights and not use his eco advantage until he runs out of eco. You do some really good raids, don't get me wrong. But there's just so much in that early game where you're kind of like, it felt like you're handing him the game because of your poor eco mismanaging. You're lucky that he also mismanaged his eco by a lot. So overall, once again, purpose of making things. Are you trying to pressure? Do you want to get to castle as fast as possible? Are you wanting to pro scout? Like, clarity of plan. Just ask yourself, what resources do I need, and split your villas for those resources. You'll get better at that the more you think about doing that. Scout consistently so you know what your opponent's doing, you react to those things. And make sure you're always making villagers. Use your TC hotkey, constantly be producing villagers, constantly be making houses and adding production, things like that. Let me know if any questions, and good luck on your games.